Thanks everyone for joining. It's 2024. We've got a new group of amazing destinations to go to with amazing destination experts that I personally vet and chat with, and I would go on these individuals tours. So I'm excited to share and hear from them today. So I'm going to start with someone who hasn't been on one of these events before, Karen Cleveland.
All right, thank you. Hello. Yeah, so you might tell from my background, I go to Africa, specifically Kenya, and I've been going for the last 7 years. An unexpected first trip, first safari to Kenya led me to taking people to Kenya. So my background is I'm a minister. I teach spiritual practices, that kind of thing. I'm an animal communicator. So I really like to focus on connection with the animals and connection with the land. Um, I can also arrange for people just to go do a safari, go see the animals. But when I take people on safari, and my next group is December 6th of this year, I like to focus on, like I said, actually connecting with the animals. And so I do that several ways. One is I actually create journals for people. And of course, the experience is up to you, how much you do and how much you participate. But I like to create journals with exercises, some like energetic exercises to connect deeper, not only with yourself. I want you to come away with an experience, but also with the land, with the other people, and with the animals. And then we also have some experiences with the animals themselves. So this is in a place called Olpajeta. It's one of the things in this conservancy is a rhino uh, program to conserve and to help keep the rhinos alive. And this one is Baraka. He's a blind rhinoceros, and he can't live on his own because he can't see. But this experience was so touching, and I just got this energy of deep appreciation for his caregiver who's with him constantly, for being able to be such a good ambassador to the people. And so we go to Sheldrick Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, which they help with elephant conservation, orphaned elephants. So this trip we will go to the baby orphanage in I'll try to get out of the way. We'll go to the baby orphanage in Nairobi. So keep they raise these elephants until they are ready to integrate themselves back into the wild. So they're a really great organization. Most of my people that go are 40s above, mostly women. Husbands come sometimes, and certainly men can come without husbands, but it's mostly women that do end up coming. And I'm just going to kind of show some of the things that we see. I'm going to 4 different parks, and one of the parks I have not actually been to. It's called Samburu, and it has some animals that I personally have not seen in person before. There's a special kind of zebra, there's a special kind of giraffe that we don't usually see out in Masai Mara, the big vast savanna, or some of the smaller parks. So like I said, I also think it's a lot about the experience. So I do some like sunrise spiritual practice or meditation. We do this trip. I'm bringing a woman that will help do some meditations, but also some physical exercises, not like calisthenics and not like yoga, but sometimes we're sitting in cars for a really long time. So she's going to help us just get a little bit physical again, if you want to, and also do some like games on the trip. So we go in Land Cruiser. So there's only 4 to 7 people in each vehicle, depending on how many total. I try to limit the trips to under 18, but this trip might be under 12, under just 2 cars. So we'll see how that goes, though. I already have several people that want to go. but I haven't started taking deposits yet. That'll start next month when I'm done doing some travel this month and just get my stuff together, basically. So that's the short of what I do, and uh, super excited and happy to answer any questions. At some point, email me or contact me or however that works.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Karen. Did anyone have any questions? We have a couple minutes to take questions for Karen. What kinds of accommodations do you stay in, Karen?
Ah, that's a good question. I would say these are moderate to above 3 to 4 star accommodations. So they're all clean. I don't have a picture handy to show any accommodations, but they all have some of them are what we call a tented cabin, which just means it has tents on this or canvas on the sides, but they have a floor, they have a bathroom in it, running water, electricity. Um, they they all have all the lodging that we do has pretty much a big buffet type style meals and swimming pools, gift shops, uh, bars.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so they're it's not rustic, not too rustic. I mean, we are in Kenya, so there might be some bugs, there might be, some dust. There's a lot of dust in Kenya, but it's pretty nice lodging.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
And the food, you mentioned, do they serve any types? I'm not familiar with food that's indigenous to Kenya. Is there an opportunity to maybe partake in something that's a little more local for those that are?
There is. So in the buffets, what I typically find is, so my husband is Kenyan, and that's how I got started in all this, whatever that means. But so there is food that he loves because it is his traditional foods on the buffets if you want to try it. And some of them are like greens, certain kinds of rices, certain kinds of breads. And then there's a lot of Indian inspired food. There's a big Indian community in Kenya, and so there's curries, there's chapatis, and some of the other Indian inspired food, and then typically some very normal like Western pastas. Actually, the Italians have a big hold in Kenya as well. So in certain regions, there's a lot of Italian food, but definitely pasta, omelet bars for breakfast. Personally, I'm a vegan. I don't generally have problems finding anything to eat. Gluten-free people, when you're at the lodging, they're pretty accommodating. And just because they get so many tourists through, they understand the different diets. When we have to eat out in the bush, and take a lunch with us, that's when you want to maybe have your special food if you're on a special kind of diet, because they don't always get that right, but they're pretty accommodating otherwise, pretty good food.
Yeah, it just sounds like such a beautiful experience, Karen. And I know your connection to the animals runs deep. So
Yeah.
super
Yes.
appreciative that you could share. Did any, oh, price, we probably kind of need, I know you may not have worked out the exact details, but kind of a ballpark price for people. And how many days is the December trip? Do you kind of have
Great,
a,
great question. So this trip is December 6th to 16. With an optional add-on of 4 days to go to the beach. They have a tropical beach in Kenya with a marine park, and then also potentially to my husband's very rural village that doesn't have electricity and running water. So the base safari though, 6 to 16. The price per person double occupancy right now is right around 5,000 to 5,200. We're still working that out. Single supplement puts it a little closer to $6,000. And that includes all your lodging, all your food, transportation, park fees. Doesn't include getting there. Water while you're on safari. They provide water. So just, souvenirs, alcohol, that kind of stuff. It also includes tips for the guides.
oh,
So,
wonderful.
yeah,
Great. Thank you so much, Karen, for sharing.
absolutely.
Kristen, would you like to share about your amazing trip that you've got planned? I know it's for 2025, but still, it sounds amazing.
Yeah. So I'm going to be talking about Switzerland today. And so the trip is not until next year, May 2025. The dates are May 24th through the 31st. So it's an 8-day trip. And we're going to see the highlights of that beautiful country. I do small group tours for people with mobility problems, but everyone is welcome. So there are no restrictions on who can join. We have a variety of abilities. We have both men and women on the trip. So it's really inclusive. And I design these trips so that everyone can enjoy them. So we're going to be going to Zurich. That's where we'll be flying in and out of. And then we'll be doing a city tour in Zurich. We'll be going to the Lindt Chocolate Factory. We will be doing a day trip to Lucerne and seeing Old Town Lucerne, going on Lake Lucerne on a cruise. Then we're going to go up Mount Gladys, and that is one of the mountains there that offers fantastic views of Lucerne and the lakes below. We're going to be moving on to Interlaken, and in Interlaken, that's when we're going to go to the Alps. We're going to go to Mount Niesen, to the summit of that mountain. So from Mount Niesen, you have fantastic views of Jungfrau and the mountains on either side of that. We will be visiting a gorge that has a beautiful stream running through it. We will be going to waterfalls. We're going to be going on the Golden Pass railway train ride. It's one of the many scenic train rides throughout Switzerland. And at the end of that train ride, the town that's located on, I forget the name, is on Lake Geneva. So you'll see a little bit of Lake Geneva. We'll be going to a cheese making demonstration, so you can see how that is made, and you can enjoy fondue and all the other wonderful cheese dishes in Switzerland. And then we will be moving on to Bern, and in Bern we will be doing a city tour and checking that out as well. So we have something, a highlight every day of the trip. It's going to be fun, it's going to be wonderful, and it's designed, the routes that we take and the activities that we do are wheelchair accessible. So if you are in a wheelchair, you're welcome to join. If you have limited mobility,
Let's hope we didn't lose her. I know her bandwidth shows it's low. Yeah, there you are. If you need to go off camera, Kristin, because your bandwidth looks like it's low. But yes, the trip sounds amazing to Switzerland and just all the things you think of. There you are.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to go off camera.
Yeah, because that'll save your bandwidth.
But hopefully this is better. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So I don't know where you lost me, but we have a lot of iconic sites in Switzerland that we're going to be visiting. I do have a link if you want a detailed itinerary and to see pictures. I can send that to you if you email me. Right now we have 3 spots left on the tour in standard rooms. My accessible rooms are taken at the moment, but if I have enough interest, I will open up another tour date for that to be available. And so, like I said, 24th to the 31st of May 2025 is the tour right now. The cost is $4,200 per person for double occupancy. If you would like your own room, there's a 700 Swiss franc single supplement. I haven't done the conversion of that yet to know what that is in US dollars, but that'll probably put it closer to $5,000 if you would like your own room.
Great. It sounds like such an amazing trip for anyone, Kristin. That's what I love. And unfortunately, we don't get younger. So, and I noticed just, it's nice to slow things down sometime and just be able to see more, you experience more. And I know when we were chatting previously, you mentioned that, Europe is full of cobblestones and things like that. So, You mentioned that some of the walking paths you were having to work, you were working with locals, I believe. Was that it? Tell me a little bit about
Yeah,
that again.
we're working with a local accessible travel company in Switzerland. They're the ones actually conducting the tour. I'm organizing it. And so they know the best routes to avoid the worst cobblestone areas. We can't avoid them entirely, unfortunately, but we can avoid the worst, most uneven spots. We can take step-free routes so that there's no stairs, so that if you have bad knees or things like that, even if you're not using a cane or a wheelchair, some people have joint issues, and certainly uneven terrain can aggravate those, or things like that. So we try to look at what are the easiest routes to take while still getting to see all the good stuff that everyone wants to see.
Right. Fabulous. So how do you do your meals? Do you generally take meals as a group? Do people have a little bit of free time in the evenings, or tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, so breakfast is included. We'll be staying in 3 and 4 star hotels, and so breakfast is always included in that part of your package. Lunch and dinner are not included, but that gives you options, right? If you would like to be with the group, you can be. If you need some personal time, that's fine too. I know everyone has different needs, and it can be a lot to be with a group like 24/7 almost. So, like, if you need some personal space, some downtime, that is absolutely fine. But the group is also there if you want company. So that's kind of a nice balance. Lunches, there are a lot of places where lunch is available as we're touring. I know when we're at the top of the mountains, each of those mountains have restaurants on the summit. So you can enjoy a lovely meal while looking at the gorgeous view. Dinners obviously will be in the town that we're staying at for that night, but we'll get recommendations from the tour operator so that we have some guidance. But if you see a place and say, hey, I want to go there, that looks good, that's fine too. There's a lot of flexibility in this, even though it is a tour. So I try to offer that balance for everyone.
Yeah, it sounds like an amazing trip, Kristen. And Switzerland is usually high on everyone's list with, like you said, it looks like it's really going to hit some amazing beauty. And May should be a beautiful time, I imagine, in Switzerland.
Yeah, it'll be spring, so everything will be open. Snow, knock on wood, snow should not be an issue to, cause any, um, issues with that. But the flowers should be in bloom. It is right at the end of like the shoulder season, which is one of the reasons I chose May, because sometimes you might find better airfare prices. So I was trying to keep in mind budget as well as doing all the fun iconic stuff that you see on social media while we're there.
Yeah, sounds amazing, Kristen. So, did anyone have a couple quick questions otherwise for Kristen?
What were the dates again?
May 24th through the 31st, 2025.
So that's 7 days.
8 days, yeah.
Okay.
Because we're counting the day you arrive and the day you leave.
And I
And
know,
all airport transfers are included.
and I know, like most of these trips, if you have a couple extra days, Kristen can advise you on getting to that um, starting city a day or two early, which is sometimes kind of nice with these longer flights. I'm finding, and all the airport chaos. Maybe getting a day or two there early or staying a day or two later. Kristen could be advise you on that, and then you can get rested before or have some extra time to explore after. So,
And we do have a built-in rest day the day you arrive. We don't have any activities planned because we know that jet lag can be horrible and that people may just need some time to recoup. So the next day is when really everything starts, and that way you feel refreshed and ready to go.
good question, Deborah. Any other questions? All right. Well, let's move on and hear from Elaine. Thank you again for joining.
Well, it's my great pleasure because I do love talking about Morocco. So I feel some affinity for Karen's comment because my interest in Morocco and my dedication to running tours there now also comes from a magical first experience in Morocco. And it's just been my pleasure to be able to bring the rest of the world to Morocco 6 people at a time, because that's about as many as we can fit in our car. So um, I'm here to talk about our women's tour. So this is our Morocco Mosaic Discovery Tour for women. Men can come on this trip, but there is one activity on it that they can't participate in it, and that is the tea and henna party with Berber women. Otherwise, men are perfectly welcome. But most of the time, of course, it's women who do sign up for this tour. It's designed to be immersive in the sense that it gives you a look at the life and lifestyle of women in Morocco. But then, of course, because it's mostly women on the trip, then it's an opportunity also to reflect on what that's like compared to our own lives, wherever we're from, and experience the differences and similarities and all of those wonderful things. So this is a 14-day, 13-night tour. It's running from May 2nd to 15th this year. And just so you have an advance notice, this trip is designed so that it fits nicely with April's trip to Spain, which she's going to be talking about. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Background noise there. This is, it's run with the assumption that people attending this trip may be coming to Morocco possibly for the first or the only time. So although this is a trip that's rich with experiences directly related to the lives of women, and I'll talk about those, we also expect that you'd want to see the main things that people come to Morocco to see. So some of the trip highlights include visiting all 4 imperial cities, which are the ones which either are or have been capitals of Morocco. So that's Rabat, Meknes, Fez, and Marrakesh. We also visit the famous blue village of Chefchaouen. We take you on to the desert. So there is a nice, wonderful night in a desert hotel, as well as one in the tent camp. So these are Moroccan tents. They are walled canvas tents, so higher ceilings, hard floors, hotel beds and bedding, private bathrooms, including flush toilets and showers with hot and cold running water, and just total comfort out there in the desert. Your night there includes dinner prepared by the camp hosts, and they usually entertain everyone around the campfire afterwards. So it's a really wonderful experience that night.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Oh, it is. It's just a wonderful experience. You do have the option, of course, of riding into the camp on camels. So it also means that you don't have to. We can drive you in the 4x4 as well. But really, if you've never ridden a camel, it's just a 1-hour trip. It's pretty comfortable. If you've done any horseback riding, then it's pretty similar to that, with one exception, and that is that the camels are tied nose to tail. So there's no risk of the camel taking off on its own and taking you with it or anything like that. So it's a lovely sedate walk into the dunes. But honestly, one of the things that really sticks with me from my own experience taking the camels in is the acoustics. The sand seems to absorb all of the sound, and suddenly it's very intimate. You just hear the soft, sloughing of the camel's feet in the sand, and the soft murmurs of the guide's comments to the camels and so on, and any conversation that takes place between the participants, of course. It's just a lovely experience. So if you really want to feel transported right out of the modern world into the lives of nomads and desert people, it's really something that's special. We then take you back to, well, before we leave the desert, of course, there is a day where we have enough time to go to the 3 major towns in the desert of Erfoud, Rissani, and Merzouga. So depending on what day it is, there's the chance to see what they're like, check out their markets and things like that. Morocco actually has quite a rich fossil record, having once been undersea. And so there's a little family-owned fossil museum that, if you have the interest, we can take a visit to as well. So it's a really rich experience to discover the life and lifestyle of people in the desert as well. There's a tiny little town between those centers called Kamlia, and it is once the refuge, now just the home of Black people who came up from south of the Sahara, escaping persecution in other African countries. So they have actually maintained some of their traditional housing, which is quite different from Moroccan housing, and some of their other cultural traditions. So there's a folk music style called Gnawa, and the Pigeon du Sable is a very famous Gnawa music group that lives there. And we usually can time our visit to make sure that some of them are home, in which case they'll do an impromptu performance for us and get to participate in the dancing and everything. So it's really fun. We then take you out of the desert back towards Marrakesh, stopping at Ouarzazate, which is at the crossroads of many of the ancient trade routes to the area. So there's some interesting history there. And also, of course, it's home to the Atlas film studios. So if you have an interest in movies and TV programs like the making of Game of Thrones and Gladiator and things like that, then there's a chance for a visit there as well. Marrakesh, of course, is the magical Red City. And so, of course, just like in Fez, we have Medina or tours of the old city there. Lots of opportunities for experiences with the traditional hammam. So many things. I'm running out of thoughts. Some of the highlights. I mentioned the tea and henna party with the Berber women. That also will be part of the desert experience. And up around Fez, we go to the Roman ruins of Volubilis. So it was once a Roman capital in Morocco, and the ruins have been beautifully excavated, and so that's also like stepping into another world. So this, in addition to all the women's cooperatives that we visit, where they produce carpets, you can learn about the culinary and cosmetic uses of argan oil and how it's produced and so on. There's so many that we visit, and they're all intended to give you a really direct and immersive experience there. Some of you have talked about food on your trips. The food in Morocco is spectacular. They grow everything in Morocco, from the kinds of fruits and vegetables that we're pretty familiar with here in North America, right through to many of the tropicals. And so the palate is very rich. You, of course, get the influences of countries from the trade route experience, as well as Europe. So there's a heavy I guess, presence of both French and Spanish cuisine in Moroccan food, and as well as traditional tagines and things like that. So since it's a small country, the distance from farm to table is very small. So everything is fresh. It's been picked when it's ripe and ready to eat. And sometimes it's just mere hours from having been in the fields before it's on your table. Accommodations also are lovely. We do want to give you as much exposure to the authentic culture in Morocco as possible. So that also extends to your stays, and we prefer to stay at riads, which are basically the old family mansions that have been restored as guest houses. No elevators. So I do need to know if anyone has mobility issues to make sure we can find you a ground floor room. And those aren't always available in every place, so it is important that I know that. Otherwise, the upper floors are accessible by stairs. And thankfully for you, we and our Riyadh hosts will take care of the luggage. So as long as you're okay personally with stairs, then you'll be able to reach your lovely rooms. They're often decorated in Moroccan style with beautiful tile work, beautiful stucco carving and woodwork and all kinds of lovely textiles and fabrics. So you can just feel like you're sleeping in a palace every night.
Wow, it just
I
sounds,
think I'll leave it there and see if anyone has any questions.
yeah, sounds good, Elaine. Anyone have some questions for Elaine? I mean, all these, every time you talk about Morocco, it just is so magical. And I just, your love of this place is just, it emanates from your face. So it's
I can't
always,
wait to go.
I know.
I
And this
can't wait.
women's trip seems especially special because I know of all the, just be interacting with these local women and getting to have a taste of that. It's really
Mhm.
special.
Yeah.
Did anyone have some additional questions for Elaine?
I
I
was just
guess
gonna
I
say,
didn't mention the price. I'm sorry. I should just mention that it's $3,050 US. And again, that includes your accommodations, airport transfers, all ground transportation, breakfasts every day, dinners in about 3 places, including the desert. Um, Let me see, no lunches. And then, of course, with dinners, certainly like we'll be a group of 6 to 8 people in total. And people can go and search out restaurants on their own for dinner. We don't have to walk in lockstep and go to the same place for dinner. So there's lots of flexibility. And especially in the bigger cities, and Marrakesh in particular, there's, of course, traditional Moroccan restaurants available, but there's also a wide range of excellent international restaurants. And so in the Ville Nouvelle, we can point you in the direction of some wonderful choices. Sorry.
Lisa, no, that's fabulous. Lisa, I saw you had a question.
Well, not a question, just I can't wait to go on this trip with Elaine. And I have had the opportunity to ride camels in Mongolia and in India, and I chose not to. But now I can't wait to go on a camel based on what she's talking about. But it's just such a lovely sounding tour. I'm so excited. And then to follow immediately onto your tour of Spain.
Yeah, exactly. So any other questions for Elaine? And we will send out Elaine's email and contact information as well, so can follow up with that. Edie was not able to join me today, so I'm going to talk a little bit about Spain. And it is a complete first-timers trip for me. So I'm working with Edie, who's um, it's like Elaine. She's a destination expert on Spain. She was a Spanish teacher in her previous life, as we all like to say, and then her students kept saying, well, you're teaching us Spanish, why can't we go to these places? So she started with the student tours in the summer, and then that evolved to where she was just getting so many requests even from other teachers that she worked with and spending her summers in Spain that she just left her teaching career and went full time into I think her company, and I'll send it out, as Spain Adventures. And she leads everything from the Camino walks to birding photography trips. I mean, Spain, last year, I think she told me she spent 6 months in Spain. So it's kind of become like Elaine, her second home is Spain. So her love of Spain and the culture and everything about it just runs super, super deep. So when TBEX, which is a travel conference, fell onto our radar in Spain, in San Sebastian, at the end of May, I realized, you know what? I've never been to Spain. Now's my chance. I need to go. So we are starting the trip again to fit in. So you could do Elaine's trip to Morocco, then join my trip with Edie to Spain, and then you can explore you're right there in Europe. You can go on and explore Europe. You can spend more time in Barcelona. The trip in Spain starts in Madrid. So I kind of included 5 cities in a very short amount of time. So it's really a sampler trip of Spain. And as Edie keeps telling me, she's like, this is really short, really rushed. And I said, you know what? I need the sampler though, and then I'll probably want to come back and explore more. So we meet in Madrid, May 16th. This is May 16th. I would fly in on the 15th to be in Madrid. And if you want to add additional time, if you're not going to Morocco first, again, we can work with Edie and she can help you set up some time there in Madrid. And then we will end in Barcelona. So again, we're not giving Madrid or Barcelona or any of these places probably enough time, but you could add before or after, and I would put you in touch with Edie, since I am not the expert on this at all. So, and in fact, Edie was telling me, you know what, she's not a huge fan of Barcelona, but to me it's like Barcelona is one of those cities you just have to visit at least once. All of the architecture, the Sagrada Familia, which is a Gaudi masterpiece, and just all of the architecture. Apparently a lot of architecture students from around the world visit these cities. Spain has, just like many of these countries, these mix of cultures, and so I'm super excited. We'll visit in Madrid. It's May, so some of the gardens may be past their prime, but there's a lot of gardens in Madrid. One in particular is the majestic Retiro, and I'm probably mispronouncing everything, so I completely apologize. The Retiro Gardens, it's a very popular park. We might actually catch some music in Spain. They have some opera there. All of these cities, kind of like Morocco, there's music, there's dance, they're just very lively places. And my interest being in photography, we will be adding some optional additional night photography tours with local photographers when it's possible. And by that, I mean, I literally just go out in the evening right after dinner, and I want to see the lights of the city come on, the fountains are lit up, the buildings take on beautiful hues. There's just that liveliness. It's like a whole different place in the evening. So I'll be taking some of those walks, and you know, if you want to join, that would be an additional add-on. Otherwise, you have the evening free to explore music and other events. Edie knows these cities well and can recommend places. This tour includes lodgings. We're staying as much as possible in locally owned smaller hotels, or I think she even mentioned a couple of pensions, which are kind of the local bed and breakfast type places. So breakfasts are always included. We'll travel from Madrid by high-speed train to Cordoba because that makes the most sense. There's quite a distance there. And then we'll explore, there's a Moorish old town, Roman foundations. I mean, a lot of cultures have been in these countries for centuries. From Cordoba, we'll spend some time in Sevilla, I think I'm pronouncing that right. There's a Gothic cathedral there that's incredible. We'll do some moderate walking that day, about 2 to 6 miles. There are some stairs. So again, if someone has mobility issues, we would want to know that so we can maybe work on that or be sure to accommodate accordingly. We'll spend 2 nights in Cordoba, 2 nights in Sevilla. We'll be in Granada 1 night, 2 nights in Valencia, and 2 nights in Barcelona, which is very short, but we will have city guides, walking tours. We're going to try to get into the Alhambra. They've kind of cut down on groups, but we hope to max this out at the most at 12 people, which would be 2 vans. But we will go with less because I'm definitely going, Lisa's going, my father's going on this trip. So it's not just women, although oftentimes it ends up a full group of women. There'll be lots of opportunities for taking photos, for eating local foods, and I'm not going to pronounce it right, the paella. She talked about it. Paella. Thank you. So again, just a lot of amazing places to discover and explore from the eyes of a first timer. And I think that to me is always the most exciting and vibrant. And even though it's just a postcard tour and it's going to be very quick, just based on our time there, I think if you've never ever been, the price is really good. She's based it at $3,550 if there's 12 of us. It's a little higher if there's 8. But if you need your own room or want your own room, the single supplement is only $350 additional for the entire trip, which that's like almost unheard of. That's crazy. But the other thing to keep in mind is if you have some, mobility issues, again, these are places with a lot, we'll be doing, I think most days she put about 2 to 4 miles of walking in, because that's the best way to explore a city, is on your feet, having a moment to stop, actually look at the buildings. We get so used to being in cars in the United States, but once you get out of your car and actually walk down the street, you see so much more, and that's the best way to absorb the architecture and just the feel and flavor of the streets. And if you're walking along and you see some amazing place with chocolate and churros and some hot coffee, we're stopping. So my interests are photography, architecture, food, music. So she's including all of these things. And there's just way more than we'll have time for, to be honest, in this trip. And it starts the 16th as the official start day, the welcome dinner and the farewell, maybe a farewell breakfast. We're kind of working that out, are included. All of the breakfasts are included. All of your lodging is included. We'll have a private driver after we get from Madrid to Cordoba via the train. The entrance fees to places like the Alhambra, the Mezquita, and some of the other, any of the historic places that have entrance fees, we'll have that covered. We'll have an English speaking guide, so we all don't need to learn language. But like with any of these trips, I always highly recommend learning a few words in that language to welcome and thank people. We'll have like I said, a private driver when we are in the car. I know the last trek between those last two cities, I think it's Valencia and Barcelona, is a little bit longer, but she's already found an amazing little village to break up that trip, so you're not sitting for too long in a car. I think at the most distance, I think it was about 2 hours in a vehicle. So again, that's not too bad when you spread that over a day and you're making stops and enjoying the architecture and the views and meeting people and all of that. So that's kind of in a nutshell. If you have questions, please ask. And if I don't have the answer, I can pick up the phone and call Edie. She's working on details. She's leading, she has other trips even before this one, as she said, and the Spanish take a little bit more time after Christmas. So even though we're at the end of January, they've still been, taking their time. It's like manana. So it may not be an instant answer, but we will get the questions answered.
April, does it include going into the Sagrada Familia?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I would just say, I went to Barcelona, let's say 8 years ago. I can't remember. And we went there for 5 days. We had our Airbnb for 5 days, and it wasn't enough. I felt like it was one of the few places I've traveled that I felt at home. I didn't feel like a tourist. I felt like I could live here. It was just this weird feeling, a good feeling. So we tried to get to stay longer in our Airbnb, but someone else was already coming in. So we just found another Airbnb for a couple more days. And we spent less time in Madrid. We were going to Madrid afterwards. We spent less time in Madrid because we loved Barcelona so much.
Oh, that's good information, Lisa.
Loved it. The food, and they've got, you can go down to the beach, and so many different little districts in town that are all different flavors.
Oh, wow.
Not just food flavors, but flavors of living.
Yeah.
When we went for the 2 extra days, we wanted to go to the kind of gritty area of town, and it was like these 4 or 5-story buildings, all apartments, and little tiny lanes, like one car. And we just got there and opened the windows, and something was coming in through our windows, and the kid across the street, like 4 or 5 stories up, was throwing crayons in our window.
Oh, crayons. Okay.
And all the people had their sheets hung out, over the edge. I mean, it was just like regular life.
Wow.
So I loved Barcelona, just loved it.
That's good to hear, because I already feel like there's just not going to be enough time in Barcelona or the countryside or any of it. And, but like I said, it's a first timer dip my toe in that I know I'll want to return. But after Barcelona, some of us are continuing on to San Sebastian, which is on the coast, which sounds equally beautiful. It's more of like a beach. And
I thought San Sebastian was kind of like in the middle of the country, like on the northern border, almost with France, but like in the middle of the country, but on the border with France. No,
it's on the water.
I wonder what city I looked up.
And Bilbao, which is about an hour away, there is an old town part of San Sebastian. And then Bilbao is about an hour away, which a lot of people talk about because the Basque culture kind of that area. So there are
So
things to
internet.
see. Yeah, yeah. So maybe an area you want to check out, definitely. Any
Wow.
other questions for any of our destination experts, things I need to get back to you on? Great comments, Lisa, about Barcelona, because I have always, it's been high on my list for a long time. Edie tried
Yeah.
to have me take it off the list, and I'm like, but I've never been. I have to go, and I got to see the La Sagrada. I mean, as I keep seeing, as we keep seeing events evolve, we think, oh, the city's not going to change, you know, but things happen, you know, earthquakes happen everywhere, natural disasters. I mean, the Notre Dame in Paris, you know, years back, you know, the way I saw it before the fire is going to be different than people that see it post fire. And there's just examples of that on and on.
It's a beautiful place.
Karen, I didn't get the name of your website.
Good
Oh.
question.
Yep. It's Rev, R-E-V, KarenCleveland.com. Thanks for asking.
And Kristin, do you want to share your website with everyone too? I don't know if she can hear me.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, worldonwheelsblog.com. And then there's a whole post on the Switzerland trip. So if you want more of a detailed itinerary, what's all included, if you want to see pictures, that's the place to go.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
worldonwheelsblog.com.
Okay, thank you.
And Kristin's got a lot of information for other destinations she's been as well. So if you know someone or you yourself are looking for some information on accessible travel, this girl has been amazing places. She's been to Antarctica. I haven't even been there yet. So I know last time we chatted, and I did a short video that'll be out soon, she was talking about just the beauty of interacting with all the animals, which was fabulous.
Yeah. And so for the tour page, if you go up to the top of the website, it'll say resources, and underneath that drop down menu, it'll say accessible tours. And if you click on that, it'll have all the tours I organized and links for all the details right there.
Thank you, Kristin. And Elaine, you didn't get to shout out your website again. Oh, you're muted.
There we are. So our website is www.cometothesahara.com. And the dates for this particular trip, it's kind of a custom tour. So the dates for this one are not on the website. So you can contact me directly to get the full itinerary and any other details. So my email address is elaine@cometothesahara.com.
Yeah, and we really hope you'll take Elaine's trip. It just is so amazing.
Yeah, we've got 3 people already, so.
Hey, oh good, exciting.
Elaine, what's the average flight rate to Morocco?
Flights? My recommendation is to take Royal Air Morocco directly from JFK Airport, 6.5 hours. I can't remember what the US price is, but it's probably around $1,000 or $1,200 US. But we have had American clients come up and fly out of Montreal. So Royal Air Morocco also flies out of Montreal, same 6.5 hours, but because of the currency differential, Americans find it advantageous to go out of Montreal.
Oh, good question, Deborah. Excellent. Yeah.
If anybody has airline points, I had quite a few on Alaska. So I was like, I know they have, and Royal Air Morocco is one of their partners. So I fiddled around, and it was really hard to do. I'm going to be leaving from San Francisco, even though I don't live there. San Francisco to Casablanca to Madrid, and then the home. I've got other stuff going on at the end of the tour. So, but I did those 2 segments. So San Francisco to Casablanca and Casablanca to Madrid. And I got through Alaska. I got that portion for 60,000 miles and $287.
Wow.
So
Wow.
if you have points on any kind of airline deal, I would definitely check into it. I usually pay for my flights and then I'm like, I've got so many points and they have so many partners. So I haven't got my homebound trip yet, but for those two, I'm paying $287.
Yeah,
I
that's a great point because me as well, flying to Madrid, I started to look and I'm doing JFK to Madrid and I want to say yes, I used American Airlines points because they're a partner to an airline. Again, direct flight, JFK to Madrid. I think it's about maybe about the same 6.5 hours roughly. And I'm like, you know what? That's the best deal. I'd rather just do a direct flight that's manageable. And I was able to use my miles because we all know miles are decreasing in value by the day. So try to use the miles if you can. And then returning, I'm doing some other travels, but coming back from where I'm returning from back to the US, I was able to use miles on United and clear off a bunch of miles. So just like Lisa, I think I paid the add-on, which was like $100 for each of these international flights. So that's saving quite a chunk of money. But I would look right now. I know for Spain, especially into May, I have seen deals. So now's the time to hunt for airfare. The latest travel journalists are predicting that international airfare is going to continue to increase about 10% over last year. So now's the time to look at the deals that are popping up. Things like going.com. There's a few other websites I see deals for, but yeah, look at what cities go direct. And there is a website, I think it's called Direct Flights From, and you can put in your airport and kind of research, because even from Texas, there are some direct flights, say to Spain or possibly even Morocco, just hunt, because it is much nicer, as we all know, to take a direct flight.
Right, yeah.
I was just going to add to that. Unfortunately, the only North American airlines that do fly directly into Casablanca, well, the only one actually is Air Canada. I don't recommend Air Canada. I'd take Royal Air Morocco over Air Canada any day. So what that means is that if you want to use points on an American carrier, you're going to end up going through Europe. And I would strongly discourage you from doing so, simply because it doubles your travel time. You're looking at your first 7, 8, 9 hours going into London, Paris, Frankfurt, Amsterdam. Then you're going to have a layover, and then you're going to have your 3, 4 hour flight into Morocco. So now you're looking at maybe close to 15 hours. That's why I say try to find your way to JFK or YUL in Canada, and 6.5 hours after that. Save your funds for another flight.
I actually ended up, I'm going to have a 13-hour layover in JFK. And before I decided to, purchase it, I Googled like what to do at JFK for a long layover. And some guy that says he's a pilot said, if you have over 7 hours or less, you have to stay in the airport. But if you have over, and he tells you all stuff to do around the airport. If you have over, he's like, here's how you get into the city. But he's like, I'm telling you, I'd go to the beach. So I'm going to go to the beach. He tells you what beach he likes, even if it's just to go sit in a coffee shop for 5 hours. I'm good with that. So because I was like, 13-hour layover, who does that? Like, I'm not 20 years old, but, so I have 2-night flight out of San Francisco to JFK, and then a night flight from JFK to Casablanca. And I'm going to explore some beach in New Jersey or New York or something. I can't remember. So.
Great tip, Lisa. Well, it's 10 o'clock, so thank you so much for all of your time. I appreciate it. We'll email out contact information for all of our presenters today, and this recording will also be available. So if you're watching the recording, go into the show notes. You can contact Elaine, Karen, and Kristin, or myself anytime and get some more information, and go to the websites and check out some more amazing adventures, and check out our next Let's Talk Travel. We'll be posting another one soon. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
All right.
April, thanks everybody.